Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's TechSoup webinar. In this webinar, Giles Garnett, the Head of Professional Services, will show you how to enroll prospects into LinkedIn campaigns with TechSoup Turbo. Live chat is being monitored by me, so ask away. I am Jin, the Head of Customer Support, and at the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A with Giles. So thank you for joining us today, and let's start our webinar.
Thank you, Jin, and hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone wherever you may be in the world. And thank you for joining us once again in the latest in our series of free webinars. As already stated, today we're going to be looking at the enrollment options for your campaigns within TechSoup Turbo. For anyone who's new to TechSoup or these webinars, my name is Giles Garnett. I'm Head of Professional Services here at TechSoup, and I've been doing these webinars for the last 2.5 years or so. And today's webinar, we're looking at campaigns and enrollment actions. Remember, this is applicable only to those of you who are using or are planning to use TechSoup Turbo. And be aware that if you're a new user, you can, when you sign up for TechSoup, first of all, you are eligible for a free 2-week, no obligation trial for TechSoup Turbo. So you get to test out all of the functionality before you then decide whether you want to continue with it. As mentioned, Jin, our Head of Customer Support, will be monitoring the live chat and answering as many of your questions as possible, and try and keep them on topic so they're useful for everyone. If you've got other questions, you can always contact our support team on the live chat via our web pages or on the email address info@dux-soup.com. And before anyone asks on the live chat, because it's the most frequently asked question, yes, it's being recorded, and yes, it will be made available via the usual channels. So, without any further delay, for anyone who is new, oh, where's my mouse gone? There we go. Anyone who's new to TechSoup, what is it? It's a Chrome extension, also compatible with some other Chrome-based browsers, which you can use to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And that's the free version of LinkedIn, the Sales Navigator, and Recruiter. You basically select the list you want TechSoup to process your actions against, and then let TechSoup run those activities against that list. And TechSoup mimics human behavior, keeping your LinkedIn account as safe as possible. So we're talking about enrollment today, and before we talk about enrollment, we need to, of course, define what is a campaign. What is a TechSoup campaign? So with TechSoup Turbo, you can design, create, and build any number of campaigns to send out to your contacts within LinkedIn. And we define a campaign as a series of messages that are being sent out to a group of people. Your campaign can contain up to 12 messages. That's including a connection request message if required. And the delay in sending messages can be configured by you of up to 99 days. Within TechSoup, you build your campaigns within the Dux Dash, as I will demo later. And as I said, you can create an unlimited number of campaigns. It's just a screenshot to show you this is how the Dux Dash looks. You choose your drip campaigns here on the left, and this is where you can then define all of your messages accordingly. And you can enroll any prospect into a campaign. So that's a first degree contact, second degree, or third degree. And there are a few different subtleties around what happens when you enroll a prospect. If it's a second or third degree contact, you enroll them, and then they would get the invite and connection message if that's defined. On acceptance, TechSoup queues the follow-ups and sends them out according to your schedule and monitors for responses, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. If you enroll a first degree connection into a campaign, you enroll the connection, and TechSoup just queues up all the campaign messages according to your delays. The campaigns are basically messages going to first degree connections. You can't queue up messages to people who aren't first degree connections until they have become a first degree connection, and TechSoup does it automatically for you by listening out for those acceptances. And in both scenarios, TechSoup also monitors when people are responding to you or replying. And if you have the default settings, no subsequent messages from that campaign will then be sent out. And you can monitor all of this through the funnel flow in the Dux Dash. We'll come on to a lot more of the terminology when I do a bit of a demo later, and you can see exactly what I mean by all of this. And also ask Jin, because she's there on the chat. As people respond and you monitor that through the funnel flow, it's up to you then to decide what to do, whether you manually intervene with messaging people directly, or perhaps you reflow those people to receive the further messages that are still in the queue. Now, and I will demonstrate all of this in a bit more detail later, you have a number of different options when it comes to enrolling prospects into campaigns. You can enroll people individually using the DuckSoup Tricks menu, which we'll talk about. You can do them in bulk from the drop-down menu or in bulk during auto visits. And then you can also do it from outside of your LinkedIn environment, if you like, from within your chosen CRM. That would be HubSpot or Pipedrive, because those are where we have the direct interfaces at the moment. Or indeed, you can do it from another environment using the remote control command, for example, via Zapier. So all of these are the different ways to enroll people into the campaigns that you have defined. If we talk about individually, then you have a couple of different options here, and this will make more sense visually when I demo it. You can open an individual LinkedIn profile, you wait for the tricks to load, and then you just select your chosen campaign from your drop-down box and press enroll. And that queues up that enrollment activity for it to be executed in due course. Option 2 is that you go to a search result, and that's in regular LinkedIn or in Sales Nav. You wait for the tricks to load. Oh, it says ticks there. That's a bad spelling mistake. Oh well. Wait for the tricks to load, and then you select your chosen campaign and press enroll per profile. And the tricks there reflects the people who are there on your search result. So those are the individual options. If you want to enroll in bulk, you find your list of prospects, and then of course, remember we've got all those different lists that you can use within LinkedIn. Those are search results, people who've commented or people who've reacted to a post, or a list of employees, or group members. Whatever the list is, it can even be a custom list, a CSV file, of course. You wait for the DuckSoup icon to turn green, and then you just decide, right, okay, I'm going to enroll those profiles, and that queues up the activities. The alternative, of course, is to use the Visit and Connect, and that will process the list, carrying out the auto visits in turn, and then during that activity will then carry out, or I should say, execute that chosen campaign option. Make sure you have selected and enabled the correct campaign, remember, when you're doing all of this as well. So that's how you can do it in bulk. And then you can also, as I said, do it from externally, and you can, the two most obvious options here are the Pipedrive or HubSpot options. You choose your contact within Pipedrive and go to the appropriate action. There's a LinkedIn drop-down, and you can enroll, and then you get a little drop-down box of which campaign you want to enroll that individual on. Unfortunately, on Pipedrive at the moment, you can only do that on an individual basis. Within HubSpot, you can do that per contact from the drop-down menu, or indeed you can go to your contacts list and filter it, or select a number, and then also use the drop-down box, the app actions there, and enroll the campaign. And again, I'll show you how that looks in due course during the demo. There's a couple of things that you also need to remember when you're enrolling. Make sure you're aware of your activity within your daily limits. So be aware of how many connection requests and how many first-degree messages and profile visits you have set under your daily limits. Make sure you use the planner to schedule your appropriate activity. So you may not want it running 24/7, for example. And then also make sure you make use of the funnel flow to monitor those responses as they come in, and then choose your activity from there. So we'll break away from here now, and we'll go to a little bit of a live demo. For anybody who's new, this is myself here on LinkedIn. You can see my profile there. Feel free to send me a connection request. As I say, always put a message in there so I know how you found me through DuckSoup. Very happy to interact with users in LinkedIn, so please feel free to reach out. So we're going to go through a few bits and pieces. The first thing, of course, is how to build a campaign, or what that looks like. If I click on my DuckSoup icon here in the top right-hand corner, I go down to my DuckStash here on the right. What I will do is I'll just zoom in a little bit so it's a bit bigger. Maybe that's probably a bit better for everybody. So yeah, sorry, go back to my DuckSoup icon, and we'll go to the DuckStash here. What we have here then is the DuxDash menu. Again, we'll zoom in a fraction. And if I go over to the left-hand side, and I can see here my drip campaigns, and this is where I can define my campaigns. And what I'm going to do for today is I'm going to take this webinar demo campaign that I've defined already. Now, you can clone existing campaigns, you can duplicate campaigns, you can do all sorts of different things with these campaigns, and you can really explore the possibilities. And what you can also do is you can add up to a total of 12 messages into your campaign. Check out your delays as well with regards to the campaign. What I've got here is I've got a connection request message here. In line with the LinkedIn limitations, I can put 300 characters in there. I'm using that marker to use first name here. And then I've got my follow-up 1, follow-up 2, and follow-up 3 here defined. Follow-up 1's due to go 2 days after connection or after enrollment if it's a first degree connection. Then 8 days after that, follow-up 2 will go out, and then 7 days after follow-up 2, my subsequent message would go out here. So this here is an example of a campaign, and I've got this one called here, just webinar demo. Whenever you change a campaign, make sure you press the save button. Always important, because sometimes you go in, you change something, you forget to press the save button, and then you think, where's all my changes gone? Always make sure you press that save button there. So this is my chosen campaign. Now what I will do now is I'll go to my DuckSoup options. There we go, we'll go up into our options here. And what I'm going to do here is make sure that I'm selecting my chosen campaign. My campaign was called webinar demo. So what I'll do here is I'll say, right, I want to make sure that I'm using webinar demo here, and I'm going to apply my campaign invite. If I go up here now, you can see my invite text for my campaign is selected here. So that's all properly reflected. So now that I've chosen my campaign accordingly, I now need to find my appropriate list of targets or prospects. So what we'll do first of all is we will open a profile. Now I've got my profile open here already. What I can do here is I've got my DuckSoup icon here on the right. I could, from my drop-down menu here, it's just jumping around a little bit. There you are. I could select my campaign appropriately here, and I could enroll myself into a campaign. I've never tried enrolling myself actually, but there we go. Let's see what happens. I can enroll myself into a campaign. There we go. And what we can do then is I've enrolled myself. So what I could do is go to my DuxDash and have a look at my queued activity here. And we can see here that I've queued up a couple of messages to go to myself against this webinar demo here. There we go. There's my my message that's queued to go out in a couple of days' time, in line with that particular campaign. Right, so that's how we can do it per individual. Now, if we want to do this from a search result individually, let's just do a very quick search here. We'll go to a people search, and we can do this in both regular LinkedIn and in Sales Navigator. If I just wait again here for the DuckSoup tricks to load on the right-hand side, and you'll see here we'll now have the option to enroll individuals, but on a line-by-line basis. This will load up in a second. It takes a little bit longer when we're watching it. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So we've got that DuckSoup icon here on the right-hand side, and we can see here that what's on the right-hand side is reflective of what's in my search result. So here I could just select my chosen individual and enroll them into the campaign. Once an individual has been enrolled into a campaign, you can't enroll them again. So if I just go back to, let's just open my profile again. Bear with me 1 second. If I just go back to mine again, also I can just show you how that looks. If I just open my profile, any second now, when we get the little duck icon turn up here, very shortly, any minute now. It will, there we go. So we can see here, I've already registered myself in here against the webinar demo. We've got the little asterisk there. That means I can't re-enroll myself into that particular campaign. So you can always see if you've got a little star against the line, you know that somebody's already been enrolled into that campaign. You can't enroll them for a second time into the same campaign. So that's something to be aware of. And you see the progress then as well as people are enrolled, etc., into campaigns. So that's really how you can do it line by line. So that's a really useful way. Now, what you may also want to do then is enroll people in bulk. And this is where you have a few different options as well. So you could, for example, use the Duck-Soup icon and press Visit and Connect. And with everything enabled accordingly for your follow-ups here, so here automatically send you follow-up messages after a connection's been added. All of that would be enabled, etc., etc. And what you would do then is you would just go back into your Duck-Soup icon and hit Visit and Connect, and all the people would then be enrolled into that particular campaign that you have defined. This is a very useful way to just have control of what the robot is doing. And if you have a small search result or whatever, then this is the most familiar way people will be used to using this. What you can also do is you can use this button at the top here of the drop-down menu, the Enroll Profiles, and this will effectively bulk enroll a whole load of people and queue up all of that activity on the server. So if I just now, I think I've got everything in snooze mode. So everything, let me just double check that a second. I think I've got my planner, I've got it not active at the moment. So it won't actually send any messages out or anything. But what we can see then is at least the action of people being enrolled. If I press up here now and I just press Enroll Profiles, I can then see here, starting batch enroll, I would choose whichever campaign it is that I wanted to enroll people in, and I'd press OK, and it'll actually probably now say you're in snooze mode, so you can't actually do that. But basically what you get here then is it kind of a bit like scanning, that basically Duck-Soup will just grab the data that's on the screen there and enroll everybody accordingly and queue those activities up on the server to be executed in due course. I'm actually going to stop the robot there rather than actually enrolling anybody. And that's a really good way to think about how to enroll a lot of people and just basically set the robot off to do a whole bunch of activities and leave it. You can just leave it to execute those in due course, in line with your daily limits and your planner and all those sorts of things. So if you've got it, for example, set up to do 30 invites per day, Duck-Soup will do 30 invites per day, and then it'll just it won't execute any more of those until the following day. And if you've got everything set up correctly, it will still send your follow-up messages, etc., etc. Another thing to think about is campaigns where you're not necessarily sending connection requests, and this is something that's really, really powerful. Now, I speak to a client quite regularly who uses the campaigns to drip feed information out to all of his contacts. So he builds sequences for different parts of his network. He enrolls them all into his chosen campaign and then lets it run in the background, following his rules and daily limits. So, for example, in January this year, he set up a 3-message campaign with a Happy New Year message as his first one, and then subsequent messages to go out. And he set that off in January with the expectations it would probably take most of January for those messages to be sent out. They were all just queued up accordingly and just sent out one after the other according to his limits. So he was sending out maybe 100 messages a day, for example. If I can show you how that would work, you would then, of course, for example, you would make sure that you're only looking at your first-degree connections. So here we go. I've just done a quick search of Marketing Manager within my first-degree connections, and what I could do now is I could enroll all of these people into my chosen campaign, and that would just queue up the follow-up messages accordingly. So if I, for example, just go here, webinar demo, and press OK, we'll leave that to run for a second. What we should then see is actually all of these people will get these messages queued up on the server to be sent out. Now, none of them will get them immediately because they've all got a delay on them. Those first few messages have all got delays on them. And if I now go to my Ducks dash, so it's just done a page and it's going to move on to the next page. If I go to my Ducks dash and I refresh what I've got here in my queued activity, what's sitting in my command queue, what we should see now is a whole bunch of messages being queued up to first-degree connections accordingly. And you can see here, these are these are the messages that I'm queuing up. It's a very quick and simple thing to do. And then remember your daily limits accordingly. Here, if I go to my throttling settings, I can here choose how many direct messages, how many visits, and how many connection requests I want to have performed per day. A really powerful way to get your messages out there, increasing all of those touch points with each of those individuals. And yeah, I know I've got my everything on snooze at the moment, so it's not going to send any messages. Let's just stop the robot there a second. There we go. So I've just queued up a whole bunch of messages to go out to a number of first degree connections. You see it's 10 per page. You can do exactly the same in Sales Navigator, of course, and do the same thing using your filters to look for first degree connections. Another thing a lot of people do is, for example, they will scan their connections, create a CSV file, and then use the revisit data, so they can build their custom lists, for example, and build up their list of profiles that they want to target accordingly that way. So that's a really powerful way to engage with your existing network. Build a message sequence according to your requirements, or according to the filters that you've put in place. And yeah, each of those touch points then go out and really see if you can get a reaction. Because of course, ultimately what you're looking for is a response from people to know if you can take this this relationship, this business relationship, this contact further through your chosen lead generation flow. If we go back to here, so we can now see I've just queued up a whole bunch of messages to go out there. In no time at all, I've queued up 40 messages to go out to people. Now I can also see exactly what messages are going out. So if I just type in, I don't know, let's go that one. There we are. I've got 2 messages queued to go up to this person over the next few days. You can also then see which campaign you've enrolled them into there, because you've got the campaign ID is visible accordingly. As you're doing all of this, what you need to keep an eye on is the people who are responding. Those are the people who you really want to then pay attention to, and you can do that through the funnel flow. I go to the funnel flow here within the Dux Dash. Just wait for this to load. It'll take a few seconds. There we go. So now this, I've just got some data here that's been here for a while. What I've got here is I can see how many people I've enrolled in this case and invited, the number of people have accepted, number of follow-ups I've sent out, and the number of people who've responded. And it's the responded people that are the interesting ones, because these are the people who've taken the time to reply. If I click on this particular block here, I can then pull out the information of those 58 people. We'll just wait for this to load a second. There we go. There's my 58 people who've responded. And this is the point at which I then think, okay, well, as they respond, I need to keep an eye on this and decide what I want to do. So I can then see what their responses are here, and then I can maybe reflow them, which would release any subsequent queued up messages for them to still get. Because by default, when DuckSoup finds a response, it will basically not send any more messages out, because it doesn't know whether they've responded with a great, this sounds really interesting, or thanks but no thanks, or maybe even just a thumbs up. Some people, for example, respond with just a thanks, for example, which you can't really do an awful lot with. So maybe you'd want to then reflow, and any messages that are still queued up, they would then continue to get until perhaps they then replied again. You can easily also manually then message them. So you may want to just click on the LinkedIn icon here on the right hand side, and that would open their profile directly, and then you can then message that individual directly. It's a really quick way to be able to engage with people directly through the funnel flow there. So all of that enrollment activity, and then monitoring, if you, for example, bulk enrolled a whole bunch of people, all you then need to do is let the messages go out over a period of days or weeks or whatever, and then just keep monitoring the responded people, so you can then follow up accordingly and hopefully take them to the next level within your funnel. The other thing I'm going to like to show you is how to enroll contacts from your CRM, and we'll start with HubSpot. So here we are. This is my my HubSpot environment. If I open, let's just find myself in here. There we go. So here we go. As long as this person in your HubSpot environment has been brought in with the correct credentials regarding their LinkedIn ID and the URL to their profile. If you then open the contact within HubSpot, down here in the bottom right, depending on how you've got your views set up and everything, of course, you see the LinkedIn options down here. I've got her on the right-hand side. You can see here I can do any number of different things. I can send a connection request. I can update HubSpot, i.e. trigger an auto visit. I can send a message, and here you can see I can enroll into a campaign, and this is where I would then choose my campaign, because the way that it talks to DuckSoup, it's all linked there, so it can see all of my defined campaigns here, and then I can enroll accordingly from here. So that's how you can do it from within HubSpot. And if we go to Pipedrive, if we go to my contacts, and again, if I just let's just choose, doesn't really matter, let's just choose a contact here. See here in the top right hand corner where I've got the 3 dots. Again, here I can choose to enroll this person into a campaign, and again I get the drop down box to then enroll them into my chosen campaign. The other option you have within Pipedrive is you go to your contacts here. You don't do it via the individuals. You can do it in bulk. So maybe you'd want to filter your contacts within Pipedrive, and then select perhaps a number of them here. And then what you can do is you can then enroll them into your campaign from here. So again, you would enroll into campaign, and then in a second you'll get the drop down box and you can then enroll those people. And that would just trigger all of those activities in the background for those messages to go out to those chosen individuals accordingly. And remember, what you're doing is you're basically depending on the message flow that you've got per campaign, you want to make sure that it matches the people that you're sending it to. So it's all of these different ways of doing it. It gives you lots of possibilities depending on how you work. Whether you work within your CRM directly and you want to use the labels or the tags that you've got within your CRM to determine what campaign you're going to use, or whether you work more directly within LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, of course, you can then adjust your behavior accordingly. As I say, the thing to really remember is about your settings with regards to your throttling activities, how many connection requests, how many direct messages you're happy for the robot to send out per day, and keep an eye on that. Make sure that you're managing that, because if you've got a list of, for example, 2,000 people that you want to message, maybe they're all first degree connections, you need to think about how many direct messages you're going to allow the robot to send out per day, keeping within those reasonable, fair limits of LinkedIn, adjust your behavior accordingly. The other thing you can do, of course, is create your custom lists with CSV files and really micromanage it so you're only uploading so many per day. But the thing I find particularly useful is this ability to bulk enroll people from here, especially when you're reaching out to your first degree connections. You can come up with a sequence, for example, some invites to events and those sorts of things in the lead up to make sure people are well informed, or perhaps newsletters, publications, all those sorts of things. It's a really, really powerful way to do it. You click, you enroll a bunch of people, and then DuckSoup goes off and does all the hard work for you while you can carry on with your higher value added activities. There's a couple of other things, as I said, that you should consider. Make sure you're managing your activities within your daily limits. Make use of the planner. So you probably don't want the robot running 24/7. Remember, if you're manually active on LinkedIn, you probably want the robot in snooze mode, and then use that funnel flow to monitor those responses, because that's the point where you can see instantly when DuckSoup is picking up those responses, and you then need to take hold of the next action accordingly. Okay. A couple of other things I'd like to just mention before we do the Q&A. We have launched our DuckSoup High Flyers. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. We have team and agency plan users. There are some benefits available for those who have qualified for the High Flyers scheme. If you want more information on that, please contact our support team. There are various different benefits and perks to that, so be aware of that if you've got if you've got a number of different licenses or accounts that you hold with DuckSoup. In 2 weeks' time, we have the return of a guest speaker who we last heard from in the summer of last year, I believe it was. There's Gaurav Sharma. He's the founder of AtRock. That's a digital marketing agency, and he's going to be sharing his knowledge and experience in how to generate sales and increase qualified leads. You can register, as always, via the usual links on our website. A very quick promotion for the booster and technical calls. As always, these are available. You can contact support to book them, or the links are on our website. If you want a booster session to help you get up and running with DuckSoup, then you can book one of those. Or if you need a more technical assistance with regards how to integrate or to make sure that all of your data is appearing where you want it to, we have those possibilities available. On that note, Jin, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple of questions. First one would be, does this work with DuckSoup Pro?
No, it doesn't. With DuckSoup Pro, you don't have the ability to build campaigns, or I should say, you don't have the ability to build automated follow-up campaigns, which is effectively what a campaign is. You can send out first-degree messages individually, or automatically, I should say. You can send out first-degree messages as an outreach to your list of people, but you have to carry out manual actions to set all of that up and sort of semi-automate it using Pro. The only way to get this to work, to do the enrollment and build the campaigns, is with DuckSoup Turbo.
Thank you. Is there any online training or webinar how to use DuckSoup further?
Yeah, we have a whole series of webinars which are available, and what I will do is, if I just go to our homepage here, hopefully you can all see this, ducksoup.com. If you go to the resources here at the top of the page, you can see here you have access to all of our previous webinars and blog posts. If I just go to the resources page here, so we publish blogs on a regular basis, and they're regularly updated. So any historical blogs we're updating to make sure they're reflecting the latest information. But you also have here our webinars. So you've got the upcoming webinars here, but if I click on the See All webinars here, you can see here all of our previous webinars are available here. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Raspberry Pi, and 2 weeks before that, Amazon Light Sail. As you go back through here, you can see all of the previous content accordingly. And there's also a search facility here. And if you, for example, I think if we type in getting started, I think, there you are. Getting started, LinkedIn automation with DuckSoup. We have a webinar from, I believe, the middle of last year. There we are, there, July 2021. We'll be revisiting these periodically. So as things get updated, the tool is constantly evolving, of course. We do getting started with DuckSoup Pro and DuckSoup Turbo topics periodically. So yeah, have a search through our library of webinars. They're all available, freely available to all of our users. Anybody who wants to look at them, they can see exactly how there's step-by-step processes. And we've also got some explainer videos as well, don't we, Jin?
Yes, we have on YouTube.
Yeah, through the YouTube channel, of course, yes. If you just go to YouTube and look up DuckSoup, you will find our channel there with all the explainer videos as well. Anything else, Jin?
Just going through some questions. One moment, please.
No problems at all. Yeah, as I say, we do update the topics as well periodically. So I believe we'll be going to be doing some new getting started webinars. I think towards the end of April will be the time that we'll be revisiting them again. And if, of course, you have suggestions for webinar topics, you can always email our support team. If there's a specific topic which you feel like you would like to be presented, we will of course consider those options coming in from our users as well. We like to to hear from our users, to see what people want, what's interesting for you, what would you find valuable. We build our schedule, of course, a couple of months out, but we're always happy to take input as well from our users. Any further questions there, Jin?
At the moment, we don't have any further questions.
No, okay. Well, in that case, yeah, be aware of all the options. I'll just give people a couple more minutes. I'll just go over a couple of things again. Be aware of all those enrollment options. Maybe a couple of questions will come in. You've got the option to enroll people individually. When you open the profile, you pull the drop-down box down and you choose to enroll. You can do it from the search results, and you can do that, individually or in bulk. And you can do it from all the different lists as well. So those alumni lists, the reaction to post lists, the page follower lists, all those different environments. You can run that enrollment activity, or of course the Visit and Connect activity. So all of that is possible. There's lots of possibilities there. And then also, of course, from within your third degree environment, or I should say your third party environment. So that would be HubSpot or Pipedrive. There is also the possibility to use Zapier. So the enrollment command is available through the Zapier and the Integromat/Make integrations. So you can trigger enrollments activities through a remote control command now as well. So if you're an advanced user and you're using that side of things within different environments other than HubSpot and Pipedrive, of course, you can also do that from there. Last call, Jin, any further questions?
Yes, one question about HubSpot. Would you be able to show what fields in HubSpot users would need to fill to enroll directly from HubSpot?
Yeah, so here we are. This is the HubSpot environment. Yeah, this is HubSpot. Yeah, make sure I'm in the right place. Hopefully you can see my page here. So this is myself here within HubSpot. The two important fields that the DuckSoup needs in order to be able to trigger activities when you install the connector between HubSpot and DuckSoup. DuckSoup creates these new fields. So the LinkedIn degree, the LinkedIn ID, LinkedIn industry, LinkedIn profile, that's all created during that process of setting up the integration. The LinkedIn ID and the LinkedIn profile are the two important fields that allow DuckSoup then to be able to execute triggered actions from the HubSpot environment. LinkedIn profile, of course, because it needs to go to the URL, and the LinkedIn ID there is also used by DuckSoup in order to make sure that there's a connection there between the LinkedIn data and what you've got there in HubSpot. So those are the two important fields. So if you're bulk importing data, for example, so some people do that, they will download their CSV file. Those are the two most important fields that would be required in order for that to work correctly.
Thank you. Another quite a few questions on attachments. So yeah. Can you send attachments?
No, unfortunately you can't at the moment. If you go to our suggestions page, it's always an excuse to plug this one, the feedback.ducks-soup.com. These are our current suggestions where you can suggest product changes or improvements, adaptations, for example. This is where you can suggest things and upvote them. And as you can see there, including images and thereby attachments in messages to first degree contacts. That is a request which is in there. These we review, and we consider these every couple of weeks or so. We review what's in the list and put things into our product evolution accordingly. Currently, unfortunately, if I just go back to my Ducks Dash and I go to my drip campaigns, you'll see here that there's no possibility currently for adding attachments. You can use URLs, of course. So yeah, what a lot of people do is they'll put hyperlinks in there and they will get rendered correctly within the message. So yeah, unfortunately, no attachments currently. But yeah, upvote it if that's a particular requirements that you need.
Thank you. Quite a few questions about what DuckSoup can, with what program CRMs DuckSoup can integrate with. Where can people check how does DuckSoup integrate on, or what CRMs it can integrate with?
Okay, so the best thing to do, if you're not using HubSpot or Pipedrive, my advice would be to go to, well, you can check out both. Let's go to here. If we go to Zapier, if you go into Zapier, for example, you can go into here and you can have a look. You can look up what CRMs are already integrated with Zapier. So DuckSoup is integrated with Zapier, so you can build an integration from DuckSoup into Zapier and into whichever environment Zapier works. The other alternative is Make.com. That's the new name for Integromat. You've probably heard me mention Integromat before. Similarly here, you can check to see what apps are integrated within this environment. So if I just think about what was the one I was using the other day? SharpSpring. Yeah, so SharpSpring is a CRM that we were looking at the other day with a client. So you can see the SharpSpring CRM here, for example, is integrated. And there's all sorts of other things. But the thing to do would be to look within Make or within Zapier whether their CRM is integrated there, and then you can then use DuckSoup from there. So if I go here and I type in, for example, DuckSoup, there you are. You can see DuckSoup is there within the Make environment. Similarly, within Zapier, it's also apps work with Zapier. That's where it is. So again, you can see here. If I look at SharpSpring, for example, we can there see SharpSpring is there just as an example. And if I type in DuckSoup, we can see that DuckSoup is also there integrated within the Zapier environment. So those are the two places to go to see if, for example, Zoho, for example, or Salesforce, or ActiveCampaign, whatever environment it is that you're using, you can use the Zapier environment or the Integromat or Make environment in order to make sure that your data is aligning correctly. And yeah, we've done quite a few webinars in the past on how to do that. I believe we'll be revisiting that in the coming months as well, just to refresh your knowledge and share the latest information that we have available.
Thank you. Another question, quick question. Can we send smart links with DuckSoup?
As in, I guess, custom links with identifiers on it to see where people have come from. Absolutely, you can send any URL and then it will just render correctly. And yeah, I mean, you can have your appropriate code in there so you know where it's come from. As long as it's just a URL, then yeah, absolutely you can. Just be aware of the character limitations of messaging. That's the only thing I would say.
Thank you. That's it from me.
Excellent, cool. Nice to have a good few questions today. Yeah, it just leaves for me to say, yeah, in 2 weeks' time we have Gaurav presenting for us. I will also be, myself and Jin, I think will also be present on the call as always. So yeah, we're looking forward to hearing from him in 2 weeks' time. And I'll leave it to Jin to sign off. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. And if you have any further questions, please go to our website. There's support links there and contact us, and we will definitely be happy to help you further. Thank you very much again for attending, and hopefully we'll see you again next time.